are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel. Jim here, and I'm going to be reviewing Amazing Spider-Man number 27. Came out from Old Marvel Comics just this week. So, now that Zeb Wells' mystery box nonsense is over, and Miss Marvel can be resurrected on Krakoa, making her a mutant, what does Zeb Wells have in store for Spider-Man fans going forward? Well, if this issue is any indication, a bit of moping, mixed in with some standing around moping, and maybe even some lying in bed moping. So what I'm saying is a lot of moping. But let's get into that right after I ask everybody to subscribe to the channel, like the video, enable notifications, and let me know what you thought of Amazing Spider-Man number 27 now that we have passed all that crazy death of Kamala Khan in the comments below. I will start this out with giving you the credits and the recap, because the credits and recap, more the recap, I guess, makes me laugh in this book. Maybe the credits do too, because it is written by Zeb Wells, right? Pencils by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Farmer, colors Marcelo Menez, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. Here is the recap. The emissary, a mad mathematician. Every time I read this, it amazes me that somebody who's getting paid to write comics would actually want that in their comics. The idea that the big villain is known as the mad mathematician. Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. Who tried to become a god of death and nearly succeeded, has been defeated once and for all. But at what cost? Well, if you ask me, probably like the $7.99 they're going to charge for that Miss Marvel one-shot, right? Oh my. Miss Marvel made the ultimate sacrifice, giving her life to stop the evil plan. As she died in Spider-Man's arms, she removed her mask, revealing her identity as Oscorp intern Kamala Khan. Now, you have to mention that as she was dying, she removed her mask as if she ended up just dying, they wouldn't have taken the mask off. Oh my God, it's Kamala. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. I don't know. The devastating blow was felt doubly by Norman Osborn, who realized the young hero had interned at Oscorp with no qualifications at all to keep an eye on him. But Peter and Norman don't have time to sit with their grief and guilt, even though they do, when New York City needs the protection of Spider-Man and Gold Goblin. Oh, do they ever. That New York City, always in trouble. So here we go. I know it's silly to expect everyone to immediately forget Kamala Khan's death, but it does feel equally silly the way Zeb Wells has them remember it. And her. It's an odd equation of Kamala barely being in this book at all. Plus, and really, I'll even go further, shouldn't have any reason to be, but really didn't get shown much. Plus, her not really having a great connection with Peter or Norman, which makes all of it fall flat. Peter lays in bed, clutching onto Kamala's mask, while Norman is sad that Kamala got an internship at Oscorp to keep an eye on him. He should be mad at HR for hiring someone with zero qualifications, but that's just me. But instead of, checking things out like that, he starts playing 6 Degrees of Green Goblin to blame himself for it all. I mean, if I wasn't Green Goblin, then this wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't happen. I mean, you're going down the line here, Norman. You don't have to be a martyr here. By the way, I wasn't joking about Peter lying in bed clutching Kamala's mask. It's hilarious. I'm sure Marvel is holding things aside for Kamala's big funeral for a friend issue coming up. But couldn't Norman and Peter maybe visit Kamala's family or talk to Miles Morales or something? Nope. At least Black Cat is acting like most Spidey fans here and hoping Peter just forgets all this hogwash and gets back to having a little bit of fun. Speaking of fun, Norman also is reminded that he killed Queen Goblin a couple days ago, but don't worry, she isn't really dead anyway, right? The issue, though, it's not all doom and gloom. Doc Ock is keeping an eye on Spider-Man, and that could be interesting down the line. But of course, Zeb Wells can't help himself. And by the end of the issue, he sets up something I haven't seen since my wife made me stop watching hentai. A love triangle between 2 old men and a set of tentacles. Okay, this issue is a bit of woe is me wrap up to Kamala's death. And hopefully we're done with that. Though I have doubts that we are. But if we are, cool, then I'll be happy. But this issue isn't good. It's not horrible. It just is. It's a placeholder type issue. You fill in a bit of the gaps. You tie in some of the loose ends, but really not the ones that fans want. Like Mary Jane grieving over Paul's unfortunate car wreck that I've been praying for each and every night before falling asleep. But hey, don't judge me. At least I'm not a grown man lying in bed clutching the mask of a teen girl I barely even knew. That is just weird. I'm going to give this issue a 5.8 out of 10. I did like Ed McGuinness's art. I thought that Black Cat was a gem, and I got a couple chuckles out of all of this hooey. And, that always makes me happy at least. I don't think they were meant to be chuckles, but I got the chuckles anyway. And there you go. The book just needs to put away all this nonsense. And really what I thought as I was reading this, just off the cuff, having the whole thing lead to Kamala's death, which just didn't feel earned. It didn't feel like it even fit in this book, would have been a great opportunity to get Zeb Wells off the book, because just having Zeb Wells continue, you're still going to have those bad feelings along with his bad writing. If you ended up changing up the creative team, getting a new writer in, I think that people would be able to say, all right, that stuff with Kamala, it's done. They did, let's have something, let's go for it. I think people would be excited to see what's coming next instead of maybe hate reading this, or what I think, dropping it completely. Because after that whole bit of, hey, I want to see what this is all about, a lot of people told me that they were still buying and reading Amazing Spider-Man just because they had gotten so many issues and they wanted to play it out till the end of that, arc, till the last issue of 26. So I think that was, for a lot of people, a jumping off point, which we'll see, which is funny because, just as an aside, in the back, there are letters. Obviously, there's a letter page, and Nick Lowe answers letters, and I've even called them out up until this point, the idea that it seems like a lot of these letters were made up. A lot of these letters were just softball things made up, probably by Nick Lowe, answering questions to himself, all these things going on. So out of nowhere, you get a somewhat negative letter that then but it feels even more made up than the ones I thought were made up before. And also by the end, he actually says to the person this letter is saying, hey, I get involved with a lot of people, talk about Spider-Man, and they're not really digging this Zeb Wells stuff. So what do you think of that? And you end up where Nick Lowe basically, in my mind, says, well, there are people who don't like it, but we don't care about what people say. We only care that the book sells, and it's selling great. I hate to wish that a book stopped selling. But boy, after reading that letter and pretty much a year or so of Zeb Wells' run, it might happen, and I won't be that broken up about it because, again, Nick Lowe, people are reading Spider-Man. People aren't just getting it because of Zeb Wells. They're not getting it because Nick Lowe's. They're going to always buy Spider-Man. And I think that after all of that just crap that we just ended, I think a lot of people will drop off. But that we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what's going on. If you are paying attention to what is coming up in the Spider-Man book, we're going to get some Tombstone stuff back. And most people, including myself, will say the only thing that Zeb Wells really did good so far in this run was the stuff at the beginning with Tombstone. So maybe he'll get his groove back. Maybe he won't. We'll have to see. But that's for another day and another dollar, right? Oh, my goodness gracious. But thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks for everything. And I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.